Forward. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. If we have looked at the minutes and, the motion to approve.
I'll make that motion, Jeff.
Seconded,
I second it.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great. All right, we move on to old business, Ed, would you lead us in that, please?
I don't have an agenda in front of me. I apologize. I was planning to attend in person and full disclosure, there was a Rawa main break in front of my house this morning, so I haven't been able to shower today.
Okay. Okay, so we can guide you in the agenda since you haven't got one. So the item is the board policy on the enforcement of subpoenas.
Yeah, there's no change on that.
Okay. And then, we're moving on to complaint 23-10-23. See here where we said, no, that's not the one.
Yes, I know email roundabout was delivered to me. I have that. I just need to get that to the proper person in the city.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up, Ed. Can you repeat that?
If we're talking about case number 231023, which is the matter that was mediated and where the board approved the
What the heck?
required to be made by that, and I have, that was delivered to me. I have it in my desk drawer. Just need to get that to the proper person at the city to take care of recording the receipt of that money.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so we have complaints, 24-4111. That one,
Yeah, on complaints 24-04-111
this is,
or 112. Your final orders that were issued of an administrative fine of $750 and then payments or a fine of $200 for each month in which the primary report was not filed with the city clerk. Shelley, I believe, has indicated that on this one, the paperwork was filed, but there has been no payment of either the administrative fine or the fine for the failure to file. And then on the second one, my understanding is that there's been no compliance with the order in terms of filing the paperwork, and there's been no payment of the administrative fine or the, which for every up to a maximum of $1,000. I did research, we've actually never had a situation that I remember at least. Fines were unpaid, and I researched it. There's really no guidance in the as to what happens under that circumstance. I did talk to the investigating officer about it. Our joint that the non-payment of fines is really a collection matter for the city, since the fines are due to the city. I would suggest a referral on this to perhaps the city solicitor or the managing director, but somebody within the hall for consideration of further action and or possibly taking action.
Okay, on the complaint, 24-2-23-3.
Hold on, do we have to have a motion for that, Ed, to?
I think there should be a motion and then any discussion and then a vote, yes. And the motion would be separately. But the first motion I would suggest would be number 24-0411 to refer consideration of action to collect the unpayment fines, to refer that to the appropriate authorities within the city of Reading for possible action.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second the motion with discussion. So Ed, would that officially close our responsibilities then?
Yeah, I think our thing, I think our work on these is done. I mean,
Yeah.
It's been investigated, issued, and the board has issued the final orders. So I really don't think there's anything further that's within the board's jurisdiction. The code of ethics is completely silent in terms of what happens where there's a circumstance where somebody has not paid the fines which are imposed. But since the money is treasury of the city of Reading, I believe that if collection is going to occur, it would really have to be done by the city proper and not by the Board of Ethics.
Okay.
I would also just remind the board that in both orders, there was language that if failed to file a report within 6 months, they would be further disqualified from holding any office or position within the city of Reading. I believe the subject of complaint 04 did file his paperwork. I think Shelley confirmed that by email, but subject of the second action 0411 also, the board's order disqualifies him from any office or position with the city of Reading for a period of 5 years. But
Okay.
bottom line, Jeff, is I don't think there's anything further for this board to do other than take the action we're considering tonight, which is to refer it to the city for any collection.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, and I forgot about that, Ed, as far as future holding of office. So yeah, I just thought if there'd be any kind of response from the city as to whether the fines were paid at some point in time, but okay.
Well, we can ask the city to report back to the board. I mean, that would
I think that might be a good idea.
include in your motion that
Yeah, I have access to the account codes. I can continue to monitor that and report back.
include in your motion, Ralph, that the board recommends that the city take steps to collect it, but I think ultimately it's going to
Responsibility going forward. It would be the city's responsibility going forward.
Yes.
yes,
Does that also apply to complaint 2?
yes.
Did we need a motion on that one, or the first one was sufficient? We need a
You have to
motion on
vote in
this?
the first motion. You have to vote in the first motion that Ralph made.
Could you repeat that? I didn't hear that, but I'm assuming what you
Well,
just
Ralph
indicated. So,
made a motion. We were discussing it, so I think there needs to be a vote on that motion.
Take the motion. Who will go?
All those in
I'll
favor?
I'll second the motion.
You just have to just call the vote, Angela.
All those in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm
Aye. Good. Okay, thank you. On the complaint 3, there's a letter here from James.
Shelley, were there motions made on both cases?
No, only the first one, so we have to have a motion on 411-2, and then we can move on to that. No, one at a time.
Okay, let's take a motion on complaint 2.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, okay, great.
Now you can do
3.
yeah.
All right.
3-3.
On 3-3, there's a letter here from James Smith. And as I understand it, he's giving them 45 days to respond. How do you know about that one?
That's just an update that Jim has now moved to the next phase of the complaint.
Okay, so there's a letter from Jim, just telling us that they have 45 days to respond. So that'll be an outstanding item. Okay. Nothing else, we'll move to new business, the budget update.
So part of your packet, I like to keep the board updated, especially when they're this busy, of the expenditures for the year. So far, we've spent $16,894.50 of the $20,000, which is pretty much considering the last few years have not been this busy. And then the 2025 budget, I requested also $20,000, same as this year. And there were no amendments to that by council. That budget passed on December 9th.
So what's our budget again, Shelley, for next year?
20,000,
Okay, and that's the same, correct?
correct.
If there is,
Shelley,
nothing else.
just one question. If this if this case what is it, -3 or -4 moves forward, do we have an idea what was spent several years ago for that case that came before us? Yeah, -3. Do we have any idea what that case cost? Because
You're talking
Just a-
about the current case, that 2223-3?
no, this was the case that we heard it came before the board with it was maybe, I don't know if it was pre-COVID or post-COVID, but
The parking one?
yes.
Let's see if I can remember what year that was.
It was 2 years ago.
I think that might have been pre-COVID because we were all in person up on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
So there's.
Yeah. I was just wondering because I thought, well, how expensive that was the first case that I can recall since being on the board. So I was just wondering, you know,
Well, I think maybe to address the concern that there's been at least 1 year in the past, and Shelley can certainly correct me on that. There's no question if there's even modest number of complaints that would proceed to the full hearing level, the $20,000 budget is most. So in the past, when the budget has been exceeded, Shelley mechanisms has had the city allocate additional money to the board for those expenses.
okay,
The home rule charter basically requires the city to fund the board. So think of it this: the city were displeased with the board's activities and what it was doing. The city could not essentially try to eliminate the board by cutting the board's budget down to zero and effectively trying to run the board out of business. The city would be required to allocate sufficient funds for the board to do it. My guess is that hearing probably cost the parking probably cost $5,000 between stenographers, attorneys.
I found that case and it cost just over $7,000 for that
Yeah.
complaint.
So in a sense, the budget is a gamble. You know, we really don't know what we're going to need next year because we don't know what the business is going to be next year. And, you know, if one or two cases go to a full hearing, steps that are involved in that, the budget's probably not going to be adequate. Allocate additional funds for the board to do.
very good.
That being said, surely they have to request.
Yeah, and I mean, I work with the finance office on that, so they know that we are not spending frivolously, and I don't come to them frequently, so there's usually not a problem.
If there is any other comments, questions, or
I have something else to bring up. If there's nothing else.
I have.
Shelley,
You can go first.
Shelley, you circulated to the board and to myself a letter from the state ethics October 30, which listed quite a number of individuals who had failed to 2023 statements of financial interest.
Okay.
And my presumption is that have also failed to file their city supplemental statement of financial interest.
That's correct.
Have there been any?
Sorry, you're really breaking up again.
Yeah, for some reason have a bad connection. Shelley, have you sent any reminders to these people?
So they actually get 3 reminders before I send them to the state. So they get their initial letter in February. They get reminded in June if they miss the May deadline, and then they get reminded in September if they miss the second reminder, and then in October they go to the state. So I try to contact them 3 times. And the cover letter does indicate that they have to file both forms.
Yeah. The letter from the State Ethics Commission indicates that they are going to proceed against these individuals as civil citation. That would be, their jurisdiction would be the solely limited to the State Ethics Act. So I'm raising this for consideration of, possible action by this board stated to the supplemental.
Yeah, so I guess the board would have to give me direction on whether or not I should pursue this. I would imagine as a complaint, like we did with the non-filing of the campaign finance reports.
Yeah, I think the next step would be the board would have to authorize Shelley to file complaints with the investigating officer against any of the non-compliant.
How many, I forget, I mean, I remember seeing that, but how many individuals are we talking about?
I'm counting.
That with me.
Just a quick count, Jeff, it's 31 individuals.
I thought it was a lot.
And there may be a few more because some people tend to file the state form with me and not the local, even if I request it multiple times. So I'd have to go through my file. There may be a few more than that.
So do we need, we need to make a motion on that, Ed?
Yeah, I think that's not specifically listed on the agenda, is it, Shelley?
It is not, but we can always have, I mean, if there's new business or other business, there's time for this.
Okay. Yes, to answer your question, Jeff, somebody would have to make a motion to authorize the filing of complaints, against the individual's letter and Shelley identifies.
And I'll make that motion, based on what Ed said with the authorization.
Second. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I think Ralph, you had something you wanted to say?
yeah, Ed, the question I have is this process where at some point, if you will, enforcement action and or financial collection gets moved from the Ethics Commission to the city administration. Do we need to have some kind of written process or procedure that we as the Ethics Commission approve, which allows Shelley to just move this stuff forward? Or is it just, it automatically happens and we don't have to have any policy or practice or procedure?
That's a good question, Ralph. I mean, I said at one point, I don't recall a circumstance in the past where now too many cases where fines are issued, but in that grouping of cases, I honestly don't recall a circumstance where the fines were not paid.
Agreed.
We've
We've never
never
run
really
into
had
this.
to cross this before. Can't better just to have a policy that if the fines are not paid, Shelley can, just refer them to the city for having to, with it.
Well, I like to streamline things as best as I can, so I do not have to attend meetings. So I'm like encouraging, and I would make the motion that Ed, you craft a procedure or policy or practice that says after so much time that Shelley, I guess your title is what, the administrator of our group or whatever? That
Yeah.
she directed and or authorized, whatever the proper language is, to keep those things moving forward. So I'm not quite sure how to word it, Ed, because I don't know if it's a direction or an authorization. Can you help me out here a little?
Now we dropped. Hold on, Ed dropped out. Let's see if we can get back in.
Okay,
There he is.
Put out there. Yeah, I can have Shelley circulate it to everybody for approval at our next meeting, but that makes sense. No reason to involve the board in just a relatively simple matter of referring something that's unpaid.
I'm making the motion that you do that, circulate it for review and approval. If there's a second or not.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There anything else anyone can think of that needs to be discussed before we close out? No?
I think we're good.
I have nothing else.
Okay, so our next meeting date, Shelley, I guess, you'll let us know.
Yep, I will poll everyone when we need to have another meeting.
Okay,
That's good.
Very good.
that being said.
Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays.
Thank you, you too.
You too. Meeting is adjourned.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays and a healthy new year.
Thank you.
There we go. I'll vote for that.
Okay.
Take
Take
care.
care, everybody. Bye now.
Thank you, everybody.